mic settings were a little different. If you're in the chat, let us know if you could hear us. That would be great.
Yeah.
I guess we could also, like, if we just boot this up, will we be able to hear ourselves?
Yeah, I would think so, right?
Let's see. We're going to do a live test live on the podcast.
Live test. You don't get this anywhere else, folks. Nowhere else.
Live. Says up. Oh.
Boom. We're in.
Boom. We're in. You could hear us.
Live.
We're good.
Thursday, Memorial Day weekend.
Feels good. Yeah. Leading us into Memorial Day weekend.
I've had a little pregame podcast.
I had a lovely, my Uber this morning was the biggest Khabib fan in the world. We had a nice chat about if Khabib would come back, who's going to fight, when Islam's going to fight for the belt.
If Khabib came back, I mean, obviously, if I'm ranking guys, I want Conor to come back. But if Khabib came back, it would be absolutely
crazy.
It would be like that. That's like the stuff like just thinking about it gives me goosebumps. It's weird. I love Conor and Khabib. I think a lot of people do that.
That shouldn't be allowed.
Oh, really?
Mm.
I respect Khabib a lot because
I love Khabib.
Here's my thing. I know what Conor did, and I like just all the. I love the shit talking. I love everything Conor did. Like he literally transcended the sport, like almost like the, almost call him like the Tiger Woods of like MMA.
Okay.
In a way, just the way he just took it to a whole nother level. Like everyone making more money because of it. But when you say the things he said about Khabib, I've went in the past. I respected like what Masvidal did, like the like I would slap you in Whole Foods kind of thing the next day because I don't like you. So like when Khabib choked him out and was like standing over him, like threw his mouthpiece at him, like. I respect that. He talked so much shit. And then when he's got him on his back and he's just pounding his face and he's like, let's talk now. We talk now. Let's talk now. Like
I don't like it.
I have to respect that.
I'm not,
I have to.
I'm not
my morals,
guy.
my like principles, I have to.
You got to give it like 10 years. It's got to be like Biggie and Tupac. You could like both of them now, but in the 90s, it was probably like a little. Like,
but see, that was what killed.
There's so many great Khabib moments.
Well, I thought Khabib and McGregor were going to die during their feud.
But that would have been tragic.
I remember talking to like people in McGregor's camp, and they were like, "We don't know what's going to happen. Like somebody might wind up 6 feet under." And I was
they
like,
worried about you being killed, Bob.
Yeah, I could have been killed. That would have been the saddest, but also funniest part.
If you were a McGregor
if I was the casualty, like
a McGregor mercenary, like a martyr.
It's like the McGregor Khabib. They do like the picture of the Bloods and the Crips holding up the bandanas tied together over like my death.
You're just sitting there in the seats on that fight, and then some Russian guy just swarms you.
That would have been bad.
Just puts you in like a rear naked choke and like doesn't let go when you're limp.
Thankfully, that didn't happen.
That would have been horribly.
I didn't have your Uber driver this morning. Now you would have got a 1-star review from me as soon as he said Khabib fan. 1 star, no tip.
I really liked him.
Not true, but
I would have talked to him more if the driver.
Did he say where he was from?
No, I didn't ask. He definitely he obviously wasn't local. I don't know. Because he asked me what I was doing this weekend. I was like going down the shore. He's like, "Oh, you're local."
Oh,
like, yeah.
I
didn't ask him where he was from.
Sometimes, like on the Uber app, they'll say, like, if you go to the person's profile, the driver's profile, they'll say like, "Oh, from XYZ," or some. And even sometimes Uber drivers have like their country's flag up.
His name is Sukhmeet.
It sounds like it could be a Khabib UFC protege.
It's Sukhmeet.
Yeah.
Was his first name.
Yeah, he's fighting on next Saturday. He's minus 850.
God damn it. I just skipped. I want to give him 5 stars. Can I still go back and give him 5 stars?
I think you can.
I think you can. Yeah. Pretty sure
I'll do that. I fucked up. I skipped by accident. I meant to give him 5 stars. He's a great guy.
We're here to do a best fights in MMA draft and also talk about a few headlines. We don't have a ton because we just did a show like 2 days ago, and it's kind of a dead week in MMA. What were the headlines that you guys wanted to talk about the most? We were just talking about the Gamrot fight. You want to start with that?
Yeah, the Sarukian Gamrot. June 25th is headlining a fight night, 5 rounds. Massive fight in lightweight. I was the winner of that fight's getting a huge next fight.
Yeah, Gamrot's awesome.
Gamrot's awesome. We were talking about Sarukian. I mean, literally his only loss in the UFC. His first fight in the UFC, took it on short notice and was in like a legit battle with Islam. Like legitimate grappling exchanges. I believe took him down like a couple times. And maybe at least once, I'm pretty sure. It ended up losing a unanimous decision, but like really good fighter. We talk about, I mean, he dominated Joel Alvarez in the last fight, who's really good prospect, like massive lightweight. He's like 6'3" lightweight.
Yeah.
And then Gamrot, I believe Gamrot in his last fight, he TKO'd Carlos Diego Ferreira.
Why do I not remember that? I remember his last. I remember the fight before that.
He was beating him, And then Ferreira, like I think he threw his like his shoulder or something like popped out. Like he was like Gamrot was like winning, like and like honestly probably was gonna get a TKO regardless.
Yeah.
But then he kind of like got in his back, was like just punching him, and I think his arm like kind of like he basically was like I'm done.
Okay, yeah. That is.
But Gamrot's been super impressive. He's a monster. They're both monsters.
Is there any other fights on that card already? I assume there probably are, right? It's June 25th.
Yeah, I don't know about any big ones. I have to look. Because there was that one, and then
you know, another fight that got announced. I'm just going through MMA Reddit. Chukagian against Fiorio, the French woman fighter. Of course, unless Chukagian's fighting him out.
They talked about that.
They're fighting in Paris on the September 3rd card.
Oh, wow.
That would be a good fight.
That card looks sick already.
And that's Magnon's first real test because Chukagian's
number one ranked right now.
And they're both stand-up fighters, so it should be very interesting.
In her post-fight interview, someone asked her about that fight. Like, would you take that fight in Paris? And she was like, what's the weather like in Paris at that time? And they were like, you'll probably have to wear like maybe a windbreaker. She's like, all right, I could do a windbreaker.
I think Fiora's got to be the favorite now. I would think she's going to be. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think so.
I think definitely.
Maybe like 180 plus 160 kind of thing.
That's what I was going to say too. I was going to say 190.
Yeah, something around that. Like, especially, I think like Magnon is really highly respected. Yeah, Chukagian's good, but I mean, like if Chukagian
tested too, though.
If Chukagian was somebody that is true. I mean, Chukagian by decision may be a great bet there, but
yeah, it could be. Yeah,
but Fiora is like
I think she just has a little more pop in her gloves.
They're fighting the same exact style.
That's what I'm saying. I think she has a little more. Like I feel like when she hits, it'll hit a little more.
Yeah.
But also the Paulo Costa Luke Rockhold fight already got moved back.
They got moved. Yeah, August 20th, far right?
Back too. Yeah, it was supposed to be on July 2nd or July 30th. I think July 30th. 30th. Maybe?
Yeah.
I think.
Was there a reason for that?
Rockhold's already been talking shit that Paulo's like not going to do it.
Yeah,
he said multiple times. He's like, I think he's going to back out.
And then Bilal tweeted something yesterday. I'm about to pull it up about very similar. Like he was
about Costa.
Yeah.
Oh, why would Bilal be tweeting about it?
I think. He's pretty much like a UFC media guy.
Yeah,
that's like he just like
true. Remember the show?
Yeah. See, that's such a banger of a fight. I feel like Rockhold's had a couple now. Like him and Strickland would have been an awesome fight. I wish that fight happened. That was supposed to be the one in the Garden 260.
Yeah.
This is funny. Bro, someone messed with the scale. Paulo Costa. But that's like Bilal's. On Reddit MMA, they have like, how they'll tag things.
Yeah.
For Bilal's tweets, they call him the social media goat. And
he does speak his mind. I like guys who speak their mind.
Oh yeah. The Schmo announced the fight yesterday, which is cool.
The Schmo's fighting?
No. Someone sent in our group chat. He announced the Luke Rockhold
the postponed. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Or maybe that wasn't him. Maybe he was just
trying to get
per source
for a long time.
With Ariel?
Yeah.
What do you think? You got the Schmo's got to be the favorite, right?
Yeah, the Schmo's big. Like people said that. Like
he's big.
People were like, "Oh, you should fight the Schmo." The Schmo's probably 180, 190 pounds. If I had to guess, he's like pretty in shape, dude.
Well, look at him next to Rockhold right there.
Yeah,
he's not
I was like, he would bash my skull in.
Like 6'2" and chisel.
Yeah, no, I'm not trying to fight the Schmo. I like the Schmo. He would kill me. I think he fucking chicken.
See, we don't want smoke with the Schmo.
No, not at all. I
know he does jujitsu and shit. I'm like, he would just turn me in a pretzel.
Yeah, no, that would
put me in a banana split.
A banana split. Shout out Chase Hooper.
Tapping out.
That video is still like people are always like, "Why are you laughing so much?" I'm like, because it was ridiculous. But it looks ridiculous when I'm like split open with a big smile on my face. The McGregor tweet too.
Yes,
that was the other thing. It started with Dariush
making one of the craziest claims I think I've ever heard. He basically just said that Charles Alvarez fought no real contenders, which is just like his last 5 fights, obviously all wins. It'll have been Kevin Lee, Tony Ferguson, Michael Chandler, Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje. That's literally like
who else could he fight?
A murderous row
except Beneil.
Literally, the only ones he hasn't fought like legit contenders. Islam Beneil, who literally were supposed to fight in February, and then he probably would have fought the winner like next if Beneil didn't get hurt.
I don't know what.
So Beneil obviously he didn't choose to get hurt. It was an accident, but I don't know how he made that claim. That's like one of the most preposterous things I've ever heard.
Maybe he's kind of thinking like, hey, I may be in line if things break the certain way that I'm going to be a title contender, and I want to start laying the trash talk. So
Maybe.
like UFC will look at me not as McGregor said, an irrelevant,
nobody.
A nobody.
Use the word nobody.
So you kind of like say outrageous claims, you get people talking about it, and then from there it's like, oh, okay, like maybe he doesn't believe it, but it is something.
I think it's hilarious that this brought McGregor out of the woodwork, like to throw a shot in. It's almost like when someone here like will throw a shot at another employee where you're like, oh, I didn't even realize you had beef with them. Like on Twitter.
I didn't. Yeah, if you told me McGregor didn't know who Dariush was, I'd be like, oh, I'd be like, yeah, I believe it.
Yeah.
He'd almost be like, I mean, it seems like
McGregor
watches
a lot of cards, though. Yeah,
he'd be like, "Oh, I know who that is," but
he'll like wake up at like 4 a.m. You know, have his TV float up above his yacht in Dubai or whatever, and he wakes up for all the cards still.
The only thing with like Darius, I remember before he got hurt for that fight with Islam, he already was basically accepting like, I'll probably win this fight. I have to wait like a year.
Yeah,
like he was already basically accepting like McGregor will probably cut me in
remember
line,
him saying that, yeah,
and basically being like, I could win this fight. And he basically was like, if I have to wait, I'll wait. Like if I beat Islam, like I deserve the title shot.
Yeah,
and I would say that would be fair for both of them. I mean, Beneil's number 3. Islam to me, like, listen, it's not denying his like greatness or how good he is. He just literally hasn't beaten anyone in the top 10.
Yeah,
it's just hard for me to sit there and have you like you have a legit claim for a title shot when you haven't fought anyone in the top 10. When you look at like the other guys in the top like 5, 6, like they've all fought each other.
Already. Yeah.
Do you think that's because nobody wants to fight Islam?
Part of it for sure.
Yeah,
definitely part of it. Like it's not all his fault.
Yeah, agreed.
But I will give him B for turning down the RDA fight because I think that would have went a long way for him. And I think he just
that could have turned him into a superstar.
He totally
he
fumbled that not fighting RDA.
Yeah,
that was a week after the Holland, right?
Yeah,
I just think he fought like the fight was that was right after he fought Bobby Green, or he fought Bobby Green and
it was right after.
Oh, it was
like
Bobby Green, not Holland. Sorry.
But it was he beat Bobby Green. He took 0 damage. Like,
yeah, and then said like he said in that post fight like, "Oh, I'm ready to fight next week, whenever, brother." And then they were like, "All right."
RDA was like, "Let's do it."
Yeah,
like, RDA was
because Fiziev couldn't get here, or he got COVID or something.
Yeah, he got COVID, and like his RDA was 100% down. The RDA was like calling him out over and over and like fight.
Yeah,
and then he just didn't want it. That was why he fought Moicano.
Yeah, which
and Moicano literally became like a Diaz brother for that. That was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that
fight was crazy.
Is that all we got for headlines?
Yeah, I was just scrolling through Reddit.
It wasn't a ton in the past 2 days.
There was like quotes like what's his name? Somebody said that Oliveira is on his way to be the GOAT. It's not Habib.
I think Terrence
McKinney said that.
He basically said that he thinks he's better than Khabib is.
Which is like, I mean, opinion on the Habib thing that Big Ed was talking about, and will he come back? Maybe like all this like discussion about people saying that he's not the GOAT will bring him back. But he's borderline like not out of shape. I'm sure he like still trains, but he's a thick boy.
He's got his own business going. Like the Eagle FC is like doing some like good stuff, like being taken very seriously. Like, I don't know. For me, I think the only way he even entertains it would be if Oliveira beat Islam. I think then I think that would be what maybe would get him to come back.
I think Dana would request one of those private meetings with Habib if that happened, being like I know
like
what
this,
we can do here.
And then they publish a video of them, and they're just like,
Habib's closing laughing, the door or something. He loves doing that while he's trying to get Habib to come back.
Like post a picture of him like this.
Yeah.
And Hasbulla is the middleman.
Yep.
Hasbulla is the one like just like doing the Dana White like. Oliveira Khabib would be awesome. If that ever, I mean, especially if Oliveira
I think Habib wrecks him.
I kind of do too. I mean, it's harder to say he wouldn't wreck anybody. He's just such a monster. But I mean, if Oliveira beat Islam, I would be like, oh, maybe he doesn't wreck him. And it's not that Islam and Khabib are the same. But even I listen to if you listen to even like I was listening to Bobby Green went on Rogan a little bit of his part, and he was saying how like. He's fought a lot of guys. He's been in the UFC for a long time. He said he had never felt strength like Islam. Like it just was like.
Well, that's what
people said about Khabib too.
That's what Michael Johnson said after Habib did the I deserve to fight for a title. You know this, brother. He said after he went up behind Habib, he was like, "You're one strong motherfucker." And like Michael Johnson, like, I mean, he's probably been around like everyone who's
Literally
who,
everybody.
and he's like been around guys that are just like you probably think are strong. There's probably just something about whatever. Like
Cormier says sometimes wrestling Khabib is like wrestling someone his weight.
I wonder what it is. It's like almost like the theory of like there's like random villages in Brazil that produce these amazing soccer players. Like there's this random village in Dagestan that just like produces like these incredibly strong men, which is like why? But I don't know. Maybe someone
They
could
got him
study
wrestling
that.
bears at a young age.
I mean,
Well,
I get why they're so good at
some-
wrestling, but like the strength aspect's like wild because it's not like they have like better access to like weights or something. You know what I'm saying?
Yo, I watched it crazy. I watched it like Khabib. I've been on such a YouTube documentary kick. There's some like really good accounts of that make like really good documentaries. And I watched one of Khabib where like Khabib talked about like as a child, like from like very like really young, like his whole like his dad basically told him like it was not to like not make friends with people, but it was like say like me and the three of us were like in the same grade in school. Like it was basically walking in every day and being like I could fight any of you, and it's not like fighting you like. Just like getting a fist fight in like the locker room. Like it's like at any point you could be like my opponent. And it's like it's this like
a mindset.
This very intense like mindset, and also goes even past it to like just training so hard every day that like it's like every single person you walk by that's like your age is like motivation.
Huh.
Like it's this very
Some
like
way to
intense,
live,
this
like,
very intense like
always looking over your shoulder
of this like crazy like combat sambo and like all this like and all these fights he would get into, and like even like the ones that he like say like he like lost a match or something like a young age. It was just very like his whole life he just was like bred to be like a like I'm sure you know like the Todd Marinovich story kind of thing.
Yeah,
like it almost was like that for him as like a fighter, but less like I think maybe a little less I don't want to say less intense, probably not less intense, but just like I mean Khabib didn't go on to just like lose his mind in like college.
No,
but I mean it just was very like just so intense and like structured, and like you are just training to become like the champion and just like be the best and like beat everybody in your path. It was very intense.
it worked.
And then even Bobby Green talked about Islam in that fight. Like he was like he just said he like when he threw him down and put the body lock on him, like because he ended up getting finished like on his stomach, just like flat out.
Yeah.
And he was like, I literally just couldn't do anything. He was like, I tried to roll. I tried to like once he got me on my stomach, like with the triangle lock around like body lock around his like hips. He just was like, I couldn't do anything. He was like, I couldn't move. Like he had me just locked in place.
Damn. Being in that position, knowing you can't do anything has to be the worst feeling.
That's what he said. He was like, I literally like he was like, that was when I realized like he was like, there's just nothing I could have done.
Shit. All right. You want to do our draft, the best fights in MMA? We'll do the same thing as last time, 5 rounds, I figured, snake draft style.
Yep.
Do you want to do a rule where you can't like repeat a fighter?
Yeah, sure.
We can. I guess
we could just to make it like
we can do that. That's fine.
It's like you're almost making like a 5-fight card, a dream card.
Okay, we can do that.
All right, I have a wheel with all of our names on it. Do you just click on it to spin? Tap to spin. All right, first pick goes to. Looks like Ev. Ev with the first pick.
This is the one I want the first pick too.
Okay, let's see. Remove him from the wheel. Second pick. This is between you and me. Goes to Jack Mack, and I round it out. So this is the reverse order. That kind of worked out perfect.
Same spot.
Yeah. All right, reverse order. I made a big draft board. I'm sure you guys did as well.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
We're doing the best fights in MMA, 5 rounds, snake draft style. Here we go.
The fights themselves would have to be 5 rounds for the round.
Oh, no. We're doing 5 rounds.
But, all right, so my first pick, I think this is maybe the most chalk pick in history, but I think it's chalk because it's just like so unanimously like the best fight in like maybe MMA history, probably. Lawler McDonald too.
It's my favorite.
I just like no brainer, like just an absolute back and forth war. Like literally to the point that at the end, like Lawler basically won off pure grit and just broke him.
Yeah.
But I mean, there was multiple times in that fight where you thought Rory was going to finish it. Maybe one of the most like bloody, savage, like, I mean, Robbie Lawler is like, when you just think of like an MMA monster, savage, like just come forward, like just eat punches.
He's the prophecy. He's the original UFC logo. Spoke
like,
of a bald man like
bald
that.
Head, like just big, like not like too jacked, but like big, like just physically strong, like just a fucking monster. That fight is just like
he's got like 2 careers too. He's got like the first half of his career and the second half where he was around for early UFC, later UFC. He
like
adapted.
left UFC, came back. Like he just like that fight is like if you you can't watch that and not be entertained. It's just the craziest fight, like some of the craziest exchanges on the feet, like I said, multiple times where both guys you thought were going to get finished, like especially Lawler a few times he gets the cage, would come back and just throw haymakers, like be right back in it. Like I said, like just spitting out blood, like they're just grilling each other at the end of rounds.
Round 4,
they're just like face to face with just bloody mouths, like
his
mist
lip coming out of their face.
Lawler's lip is like split open, like he's fucking just in it, still like yelling at him and shit.
There's a great clip from, I think it's The Thrill and the Agony of that night, of Lawler like celebrating, and he's got the lip split open, and Dana sees him and he's like, stop opening your mouth. Like Dana's terrified.
He literally had the lip split, kind of how like almost like Overeem's was.
Yeah, exactly.
He was like literally just cut like right here.
Yeah. Crazy. Yeah. That is my favorite fight in MMA history.
It's just
like also my favorite pay-per-view in MMA history. UFC 189. Top to bottom, that card was unbelievable.
That's the McGregor Aldo, right?
McGregor Mendez.
That's McGregor Mendez.
It was supposed to be McGregor Aldo, and then Aldo got hurt, so they had to postpone.
Unreal. But that was like the easiest. I wanted number 1 bad because I think that's like such a no-brainer.
That's chalk for a reason.
All right. I'm gonna go with McGregor Diaz 2.
Great pick.
Another great pick.
I mean, absolutely. I like the storyline of all storylines. McGregor retires fake. I mean, how many times was he retired? But then he comes and then
thanks for the cheese.
Thanks for the cheese. and then everybody was like, well, no one saw this coming, so he's not actually retired. Like, this is just like a work. And then Dana White said, no, like McGregor's just been obsessed with Diaz. He goes out. It goes to show McGregor's like, a lot of people get on McGregor, and I get it. And it's kind of almost like a casual, and I don't mean that in a insulting way, just more so like not diehard UFC or MMA fans, where they kind of say like McGregor's this, that, like he doesn't really care. He's just about money, yada, yada, yada. Like McGregor didn't have to take Diaz again.
No, he never
had to take him at all.
All. And even the Mendez you just mentioned, McGregor's like kind of never shied away from a fight. And obviously, I mean, he is now at the point where he kind of picks and chooses. But I mean, I think if Dana set him down right now, was like, we'll give you Usman in November, he'd be like, okay, I'll do it.
I think he absolutely would.
So that's that goes to show McGregor's, and this kind of goes to show McGregor's just adversity. Like some people, when they lose, you'll kind of see the Ronda Rousey approach, where it's like their careers or MMA careers over.
Pillow in the face at the airport.
Yeah. McGregor, it's like, no. Like, we're doing this again. And then he comes back and all-time fight. So, and shout out to Diaz too. I mean, he's amazing. Monster.
Honestly, good argument that he even won that.
Yeah.
Whoa. Maybe a draw.
Anyways, he won by majority. He won by majority decision, right?
Yes.
But yeah, shout out McGregor. Shout out Diaz. McGregor too. The king is back.
At the end.
So much blood in that fight.
He swept Nate Diaz from like X-Guard in that fight.
Yep.
He like actually like turned him over completely. That was sick.
Yeah, and everyone was like, "Oh, his cardio was so bad in the first one. How is he gonna?" But then he goes and does 5 rounds.
He caught that second wind.
Yeah.
No, he was struggling.
He was
third, fourth round. Yeah. He was like the 4th round. I felt like he started to catch the second wind.
Yeah. So, very happy with that pick.
All right, back-to-back picks. We're all going with a rematch in the first round. I'm going with a bit of a throwback rematch. It's Frankie Edgar versus Gray Maynard 2.
Great pick.
One of the greatest trilogies in MMA history. A trilogy where you watch like Frankie Edgar lose the first fight, get a draw in the second fight, win the third fight. It's like the evolution of Frankie getting better. First fight, obviously, he gets dominated. It's Frankie Edgar at 155. Like, people forget he was the fucking lightweight champion. That's crazy. He fights at bantamweight now.
And like defended like a few times.
He got like muscled around in the first fight. Then second fight, he gets dropped like 3-4 times in the first round. Yeah. Comes back, one of the most back and forth slug fest fights of all time. And then with my wraparound pick, I'm also going with a slugfest, and it's going to be, I believe, just my one pick outside of the UFC. It's Pride 21. Don Fry versus Takayama.
That's the greatest fight ever.
It's 6 minutes of just manliness. It's absolute fucking balls to the wall. I'm going to grab you by the back of the head. I'm going to throw punches till I can't. They beat, I believe, the World Cup in like head-to-head TV that night. And Takayama was like a last minute replacement, and they like needed an opponent to boost ticket sales. They're like, fuck, let's give him like a huge guy, Takayama. And it was just one of the greatest fights in history.
The most like technical, like rough and rowdy fight of all time.
Absolutely.
It was literally just like trading punches like this.
My high school baseball coach looked exactly like Don Fry.
Really?
And we watched that fight so many times, just like people would be like, oh, who's Don Fry? Then we show people that fight.
And it's like, it's interesting. After that initial exchange, they like hug for a bit. Then as soon as they separate, they go right back into it. Then they hug for a bit. They separate. They go back right into it. And then I think Takayama goes to try to take Don Fry down. And he like wraps his arms around him and he goes to just pull him this way. And he pulls Don Fry right into full mount and Don Fry finishes him. It's such like early MMA, you know, from a technical standpoint, but just tremendous. I will never get tired of watching that fight. 2002.
Yeah, early 2000.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
What was the other one you took?
I took Frankie Edgar versus Gray Maynard 2.
Okay. All right.
Jersey boy.
I'm just going to go with, I think, and I'm happy with this one too. Obviously, I'm going to go Jang Joanna, which was the end of 2019. I think the December 2019, or maybe it was February 2020. No, it was 2019. March 2020.
I mean, it was the day of my cousin's wedding. That's the only reason. It was like literally, that's how I remember it.
And it was right before COVID. It was like
it was March 7th, actually.
Yeah.
That's how
that was the last card then. Had to be.
It was the night of maybe the most boring fight ever, Israel Romero.
Yeah, where he was just standing there.
Remember that UFC was almost going to do the card in Brazil, the 14th.
I think they did. Then they did it, but they did it no fans. They did it in the arena.
You know what it was? It was March 14th in Brazil. They did do it, but
that was like the first event where they were like, "We're here in an empty arena. This is weird."
Anyways, Jang Wei-Li. I mean, Jang Joanna. What a fight! That's a fight that just shows. I mean, just all out war. I think a lot of people thought Joanna won it. I don't disagree.
If she didn't have that huge hematoma on her head.
I know.
No, yeah.
I think it was just a bad visual.
Yeah. The judges are like, how can we give it to that girl?
But those two went at it, and they're fighting again, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
soon.
It will be
they're
fun.
fighting on the July 11th, the next pay-per-view.
It's going to be awesome.
You mean June 11th?
June 11th.
Yeah.
June 11th. And the Singapore, I'm pretty.
Yes. UFC's first card in Asia, first pay-per-view in Asia.
I almost feel like I have an embarrassment of riches here. I have like a few that I've had on my board that I was thinking I had two that I was like definitely going to go with. And now I'm like questioning the first one I'm going to go with, just to give myself some time, I guess. I'm going to have to go just for sheer the moment in the 5th round. I've got to go with the Adesanya Gastelum interim title fight.
Good pick.
Just like maybe one of my favorite moments in UFC history. It literally gives me chills when I think about it to this day. And especially hearing Adesanya explain it after, where they line up, where it's like, I think pretty much everyone has it like 2-2.
Yep.
Absolute war. The first time he's ever been touched like that, Gastelum had him hurt very badly. Still to this day, like the only time he's ever been hurt in MMA. And he stands there and looks at Gastelum dead in his eye and said, "You can't beat me. I'm prepared to die." That is the most like I would have chills just saying it. Like that's the most gladiator warrior shit. And then go and just drops him 3 times. And Gastelum, being a fucking animal, was still like fighting back. Like if that fight was like 10 more seconds, they would have stopped it at the end.
Yeah.
But like he deserved to get that decision. Like he just Gastelum was still like he was hurt so badly. Coming forward, like clean shot, gets like just dropped straight down, flash knockdown, still like trying to fight off his back. Like one of my favorite fights I've ever watched. Just like I'm literally getting chills thinking about it. Like just him just like saying like that. You can just see his mouth. "I'm prepared to die." Like I was like, this dude literally was really he was ready to die for that belt.
Yeah.
Unbelievable fight. I couldn't not take it. And then the next one, I think I've got. I guess I did go already. I went a little earlier with the Rory McDonald fight. So I guess the next one, I'm gonna do the first of a fight that there was a rematch. I'm gonna Usman Covington 1.
Oh, that's a good pick.
Oh fuck, I was about to pick
recent
that.
pick.
But it's amazing. Yeah,
like they just stood in the pocket and just
I forgot to put that on my board
and just traded for 4 for a point like 9 rounds. Like,
Yeah,
they just
yeah.
Sat there and just
And then,
traded.
Colby broke his
Hands,
jaw,
hands.
and like he sat on the stool.
Literally said my jaw's broken.
I think my jaw is broken, but still kept fighting.
Kept fighting. Like, I think even, what was it, 1 or 2 had even Colby up in the cards at the time of the stoppage. Like, just unbelievable fight. All the animosity that came with it. The like MAGA versus like just like it just became like this so
and
much.
that was a big storyline back
black, like
when
politics,
that was happening.
like just all this, like him coming up with the Nigerian like flag on his face,
Yeah.
weigh-in, like just so much bad blood. Like Usman just like I remember him just like jumping up like at or where was the fight?
Vegas,
and then him just jumping up like just on the cage like, after the win, like Colby just sitting there like protesting the stoppage, which like you can make an argument the stoppage was early. Like I think there's
because he did have his arms wrapped around.
He only let him take like a few. Like I don't think he could have given him another second or two to move a little bit, but still just like unbelievable fight. Like 2 guys. That's the beauty of MMA when you get 2 like amazing wrestlers who just say like, "Fuck it." Like we're like there was not even a thought of a takedown in that fight. You saw it in the second fight, and the second fight was great too. But that first fight was just unfucking believable. So I feel good about that pick.
My next is going to be, I just had it, but I was this is obviously more recent, but I'm just go with Gaethje Chandler. And it's 3 rounds of a war. I think every fan, I talked to my friends who aren't even UFC fans, and they talk about that fight. It's just, I think if you're a human, you watch that, it's like, oh my God. And Gaethje Chandler, 2 just brawlers. You could probably find multiple fights in both of their careers. I was even looking at some YouTube videos last night preparing for this. I guess Chandler, Eddie Alvarez in like Bellator in early 2010s.
Yep.
I was watching.
How about this? Fun fact about this. I think Dave and Big Cat were there.
Really?
I think they were there
in 2011
on like some kind of, I could be wrong
like
about this, on some kind of random ad deal. Because I remember when McGregor fought Alvarez, people were like hyping him up to Dave, and Dave came into the office like that Monday, and he was like, "Dan, if I would have known he was the fucking chump we saw in Bellator, I would have bet against him." Talking about Eddie Alvarez.
And it was
chump that we saw in Bellator.
And it was the Bellator, and was that. But I saw some highlights of that, and I was like, "Holy shit, I'm gonna have to go back and watch that fight in full."
Yeah.
But so both those guys, I mean, they're just fucking brawlers. So and shout out to Chandler and Gaethje in that fight. They just stood up and went to war. They did not say, "Oh, let's go the wrestling route." They were just like 3 rounds, absolute glory, and they boosted their names massively.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And so that's my third.
So I think you can make an argument literally Chandler even more than Gaethje.
I was gonna say
Which
the
is
exact
weird
same
to
thing,
say, but
especially
it's like-
coming off their last fights.
I think Gaethje
Chandler's
was just more
undoubtedly
more
in a better
solidified
spot.
in the UFC already.
Yes. And Chandler is like almost, I view him almost as Gaethje, like when he came into the UFC, in terms of he was that prospect from the outside. Everyone
He
said,
was
how
the
will he
face of
do?
another organization.
And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, he's actually the most exciting fighter
Yep.
fucking ever. That's like a brilliant signing. Wrapping back around, I'm going to do classic fight, the finale of The Ultimate Fighter 1, Forrest Griffin
Have
versus
to.
Stephen Bonner.
I'm glad he got picked.
Yeah, this is
just unreal.
the fight that arguably saved the UFC. Dana White claims it has. This is a fight that was a dozen answer at one point, and I remember people gave me such shit because I always fuck up Stefan and Steven. I call Stefan Steven, and I call Steven Stefan, and I do that like even with Stefan at Barstool, I've called him Steven by accident. Because
there's a Stefan and Steven.
See, that's why it's an issue. But people constantly are like, "Oh my God, this fucking casual." I still get that brought up to this day, years later.
And then
Gotta go with that. Love Forrest Griffin. He was also like, it was like Forrest, Rampage, and Joe Lozon were like my 3 favorites back when I first started watching. So like he's up there. He had one of the greatest MMA shirts of all time with the monkey on it. One of the greatest walkouts of all time when he would come out to shipping out to Boston in Boston, like against Rampage. That was classic. And then speaking of Joe Lozon, I'm going to also pick a Joe Lozon fight, Joe Lozon versus Jim Miller. This is one of the bloodiest fights in UFC history. I believe Joe Lozon like owns the canvas. Like they let him put they hang it up in Joe Lozon's gym, and it's just full of his blood. And he lost the fight. Jim Miller won. At the time, I was like a little bit upset, but he's a Jersey guy. So I was also like, I love Jim Miller. Incredible. They end this fight both just laying down on top of each other like that rough and rowdy fight. They just can't get up. Literally, like there's a famous picture of Lozon just kind of like hands behind his head, like laying on Jim Miller's lap, and they're both like, "Fuck, that was like unreal." So I'm picking more older fights than I expected to going into this draft, but you know, you guys are picking some great recent fights that are pulling them away from the draft. So I'm going Griffin Bonner and then Lozon Miller.
Love the pick. I'm really glad that I'm really glad that the Bonner Griffin fight got picked, because I almost was going to be in a spot where if it came back to me, I think I would have had I would have had to take it.
Yeah, that's a good you can't.
It has to be on the board.
You can't not watch that fight if you're an MMA fan.
It's just
that's
unbelievable.
Like watching WrestleMania 1 to see, oh, this is where we started and now we're here. Not really where we started, but it was a starting point, especially for like legitimizing it into a real sport.
All right. This is, I mean, it's not that old. I think it's 2016 or 14. Cub Swanson against, I forget his first name, Choi.
Yeah.
Choi.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That fight's just, I mean, both guys just went to absolute war. Was it a 5-rounder or was it just three?
Yeah, 3.
It's going into the Hall of Fame this year.
It is
for good reason.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, it's going to the Hall of Fame. It's one of the Cub Swanson's all-time legend of even he fought in WEC, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, he's a guy that's gone from Cub Swanson and then Choi. I mean, they both brought it that night. I like that pick. I think it's like a kind of a unanimous top 10 pick. I think we're still around that. So I love that fight. I watched it after I saw it was getting put into the Hall of Fame. I think that was at the most recent pay-per-view.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and shout out both of them.
And Giga's going into like one of the wings to the Hall of Fame too.
Well, no, Giga, no, he won.
He's getting an award.
No, he won like basically the humanitarian like type of award. I'm pretty sure that's what he won.
I thought it was like the humanitarian like Hall of Fame or something. I didn't know.
Maybe,
what it was.
Maybe it's. I just know he won like some like.
It reminded me of the Hall of Fame announcements they do with the video.
Award.
Yeah.
But
Walter good for
Giga.
Yeah. So now I've got my last 2. This one I think I have to take because I just love Gaethje so much. I can't not have a fight of his on my board. Mm-hmm. I'm going Gaethje Michael Johnson.
Great fight.
Even though it ended the very end of the second round, literally a war of all wars. Like Gaethje in the first round was so incredibly hurt. The amount of that was Gaethje's first fight in the UFC.
Yeah.
Literally, so like literally the same as like Chan. Like literally first fight, fought number 5 in lightweight.
Yeah.
And gets a finish, which is just nuts.
I watched that
in the UFC like
on
that.
an NJ Transit train coming back from Barstool, and I'll never forget being like, "Holy fuck!" I don't think I had blogging access yet, but I remember being like everyone needs to know about this.
Yeah, it was
Gaethje
2016.
Guy. Yeah,
just unbelievable. He had Gaethje on such crazy wobbly legs.
Yeah,
and then he finally I remember the guy has like a great call. Then he's like, where finally you see how badly Michael Johnson's hurt at the end of the second round. And Gaethje just has him up against the cage, just like throwing knees, throwing uppercuts. And he's like, I think Gaethje, like Johnson's going to like lose out of exhaustion. Or something like that. Like, he's like, I don't know if we can fight another round.
Was Brian Stan on commentary?
It was such a good, like funny call. Like he just was like, I don't think he's going to be able to like finish this. And then he just lands like a big knee and he just falls. And the wife just like, and you even see like it ends. John's just sitting there, just like had nothing left. And then the infamous where Gaethje keeps trying to jump and do the backflip. And he literally is so tired he can't even get on top of the cage. After like 3, he literally gets up. He literally fully falls on his ass like, on the canvas.
He took a big bump.
I think he literally fell 2 or 3 times, and then he finally gets up and actually lands the backflip, which was crazy because his legs were still so wobbly. Like,
and Dana hates that shit. Like Dana said in interviews time and time again, like I hate when they do backflips after the fight. He's like, do them during the fight. I don't care. Don't do them after the fight.
Well, also, I mean, think about I mean, what do you want to do? Lose a star to that? Johnny Walker. If Johnny Walker never fought during the worm,
like dislocated shoulder,
like also that's just so Johnny Walker.
Wasn't it like a salute and then he like did it?
Yeah,
he did it from standing up. Like he like just went like limp forward and just like
what an idiot. And then immediately he was like calling for the doctor. Oh my god, what an idiot!
Just I had to get that fight on there because it was just unbelievable.
It's a great pick.
And then there's 2 of them going like they're the 2 fights. Dimming my last pick. They're both fights that were like over 10 years ago. One of them I think one of them's not going to get the one I think I'm not going to take is not going to get picked. And I think it's going to be one that people are going to get mad at us about. And I'll say it after.
Okay.
But I'm not going to go with it because I think I have to go with this one. Cause it's like, I think pound for pound, maybe the wildest exchange in MMA history is Chet Congo versus Pat Barry.
Oh yeah.
Just like one of the I know just
Yep.
that just purely that exchange where Pat Barry has Chet Congo so hurt. Like there was 2 or 3 times that I thought the ref could have stopped. I think in 2022 the fight gets stopped.
Definitely.
The one Kango literally goes his body just flat, just limp.
Yeah.
And then but he did kind of get up right after, but the way he just dropped, he drops him bad 2-3 times. Then Congo's literally on wobbly legs and just lands a big shot on Barry, and then a second one, and literally Barry was just out cold.
Yeah.
And literally even when he's he lands the shot and he's on top of him and just lands kind of 1-2, and then they stop it. Barry's literally eyes roll the back of his head. And Chet Congo literally stumbling away. He still was he walks he jogs to the other side of the cage after they stop it. His legs are literally like this. Just one of the craziest exchange you'll ever see. That I think Joe Rogan has a great thing on the call where he's like that's why MMA is the best sport in the world. Something he's the most anything can happen at any moment. Congo literally just bet 99% done and just lands 2 massive shots and just puts the guy out unconscious.
This video is super viral on YouTube, obviously, and it's gotten so many people into MMA. I've seen literally people DM me this video and they're like, bro, when did this happen? What's the context here? What is this?
Yeah, I believe it was 2011. I'm pretty sure.
So.
Just obviously, people now know Pat Barry more for just being Rose Namajunas' fiance / coach.
Yeah, and
Yeah, I'm sure
Sean
Magic.
Strickland, really, yeah.
And then Magic, yeah.
His friend there as well, yeah.
Anyways, I'm gonna go my final pick. Right, we're in 5th round.
Yeah.
Figgy Moreno won.
Oh,
Love it.
love it.
That
pick.
fight was one that really taught me a lot about MMA and UFC as a whole, because I remember I was like, oh, Figgy's just going to fucking run through him. And then this guy who didn't come from out of nowhere, but he was kind of Moreno, I was just so shocked by how fast his hands were and how tough he was in the shots he was taking from Figgy and the way they just stood up and brawled. I don't think Figgy was ready for that fight.
It was 3 weeks.
It was 3 weeks now. Yeah, that's what. And then Moreno was, but Figgy, what was it? It was a majority draw.
Yeah, because you get the point taken away.
Point taken away. Awesome fight. I think it was in the middle of COVID.
Yep.
But it was still just, it was fucking awesome. And now we're about to have we've had 3 now.
We've had 3, and there's the potential of a 4th. There's still kind of up in the air on what's going to happen there.
That's what happens when you have a draw. You have to do 5 essentially.
It would be the first time in UFC history that they went back to back to back to back. If they did 4, they've never
And it
gone.
really sucked too,
4 in a
because
row.
even though in the first fight, Figgy definitely deserved a point deduction. Without that, he wins. He just won the fight.
He won the fight. I thought he won the fight, but Moreno was just. Every round was a war.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. It was.
Chin was just out of this world.
And then that entire fight is one that I remember watching round for round, just being oh my God. And I had a big parlay closing out with Figgy, and obviously I was disappointed, but I was like, how are you going to get mad at that?
I actually did as well.
Oh, nice.
But it taught me a lot about
draw.
So
you
it,
didn't get
it basically makes the parlay way less valuable.
my draw. I think my draw lost
So
it.
do you still get something if it's
So in parlays, if one becomes a draw, it just takes that leg out of it.
Oh,
But it can be shitty. Say for example, you parlay 2 guys that are minus 250, and then it's even. Now it's your money's just you just won a minus 250, which is
yeah.
you're not winning.
Maybe
that
I
much.
did get it.
That's how draws work in a parlay. It just kind of it acts as if that leg of the parlay
I didn't
didn't
realize
exist.
that. That's at least it's not just you lose.
Because it's the worst when you do it and then the fight gets canceled because it doesn't let you cash out. So now it's now I just bet this guy minus 300 money line, who I would have never done that.
Yeah.
And that gets annoying sometimes. And then they fucking lose, and you're like, well, that sucks.
My final pick, we started the draft with a pick off UFC 189. We're going to end it with one as well. I'm going to go more of a personal one, McGregor Mendez. For me as a McGregor fan, this was possibly the peak. This was all the questions about, can he face a wrestler? Can he come back from that? The opponent changed at the last minute. The whole press tour against Aldo had been leading up to this point. So his hype is at an all-time high at this point. Everyone in my high school hated the guy. I was the one McGregor fan. I had a bunch of Brazilian kids in my high school who were Aldo fans, and they were just fuck that McGregor guy. He's such a clown.
That's pretty cool.
So I felt like I had almost like what I have at Barstool riding on this fight at high school. I was like, fuck, I can't go in on Monday if he loses this fight. And watching the roller coaster of a fight that this was, him getting taken down, him getting dominated, him getting his fucking Mendez putting his his fingers in his eye, like, oh my God. And then, like you said about Adesanya saying, like, I can die in this round. McGregor comes out for the second laughing and going, come on, let's go. Immediately gets taken down again, makes it back up. He gets put in the guillotine. He does the alligator roll to get out. And then as soon as Mendez gets up and takes that deep breath, it was like, oh, fuck. He's about to, he smells blood in the water.
Yeah.
He's about to go killer instinct on him. And he did, up against the cage. Still my favorite picture of McGregor. There's a picture of Chad Mendez like laying up against the cage. McGregor just looks back for a second. And he's got blood all over his face. And he's just like, just this cold stare. And that was his first interim title, but it felt like the title at the time. That felt like, all right, the questions are answered. He's the real deal.
No, and even going back to what Robbie was saying before about him taking on Diaz, I almost, to put it almost like today's MMA, like letter wise, like what he did doing that, like the Aldo fight getting canceled and then him just fighting Mendez, like that would literally on kind of like shortish notice. That would literally be like today. If like someone was supposed to fight like Usman and Usman got hurt and they were just, all right, give me Colby right now. That was literally like basically what he did.
Yes.
And then just dominated
comparison.
them.
Yeah.
Like in like 2022 world, like that would like I think it should be not, it can't be overstated like how like crazy. I mean, even there's a documentary that Netflix won, or at least was on Netflix, where they have like all the footage of him literally being told like
Notorious.
Aldo broke his rib, like, or whatever. I think it was his rib. Correct?
It's like when he first woke up.
Like he comes down like Dana or somebody's already like downstairs in the house. And he comes down and he's like, yeah, like he's out. And he's like, oh, fuck, like, what are we going to do? And they just kind of said, like, he was like, I'll fight whoever. Like, like, let's do it. Like,
and I remember
instantly it was
what
like, I'm ready to go. Like, I'll fight whoever.
They wind up rescheduling. It was a July fight that they rescheduled for December. They wound up doing Aldo and McGregor in December. Dana says in that moment, he's like, listen, he could probably fight in September. So we can do the Aldo versus McGregor fight in September. And like, if you want to fight this weekend, you could fight. And he's like, no, I'm fighting this weekend. It's a matter of like, who we fight. He had no hesitation of like, he's the Irish flew in for this. I'm fighting.
He's the fucking man.
Yeah, that Aldo. I mean, I always think about I was in college and it was just in some random dorm room, and when McGregor knocked out it felt like it was fake.
Oh, it did. I also
when McGregor knocked out Aldo, it felt like it fake.
That one, fake. I sent my buddy who was a McGregor fan with me Dana, an illegal stream for that one. I bought it, sent him an illegal stream. It just so happened his illegal stream was ahead of the version that I bought.
No shit.
So I get a text from him right as the fight starts, all caps. No. And I'm like, I look at the text and I'm like, is he about to get taken down again? Like, what could this possibly mean? And I look up and see the punch land, and I'm like, no.
Oh my God. Because I remember talking, especially at that time, like all the like I was kind of like really just like getting it. Like McGregor, I feel like got so many people like our age like into like MMA and stuff, and so many people just be like, nah, like no way. People are so like he hit like Aldo hadn't lost a fight in like 10 years.
10 years, yeah, decade.
Like he was like how people almost, like we're seeing like John Jones.
Yeah, and he beat the best of the best at that time
like,
too.
I'd beaten literally everybody.
His Chad Mendez fights
hadn't
were great.
lost since like WEC like type days, and to just put and even I went back and watched so much of like YouTube stuff where like people forget so much like. The shit that they did to Aldo leading up to that was so mean.
Yeah, bring him to Ireland.
Like the bring him to Ireland. Like they literally were putting like drunk Irishmen like on the mic, and just like basically just to call Aldo a little pussy.
Say whatever you want. Go off.
He's like, oh, you're gonna get your head knocked off, little fucker. Like just drunk Irishmen. Like just putting him on a mic to talk shit to him. Dana's in like the Irish like soccer
jersey. Soccer jersey. Yeah,
so funny.
Him getting the title snatched was all time. Just like,
and then even him, he's like, oh, is that the belt? He's like, give me that belt. And he like comes over like taps and he's like, I got you. Like,
in the window,
your belt. Like, and then even he sits behind him in the one. They're so funny. I think it was in the Embedded. He like sits behind him on like a TV segment, and he won't stop just grabbing his neck like from behind.
Yes.
And then he's like, I can't. Like they had to sit him like on separate sides. They just couldn't do anything with him. He just would fuck with him nonstop. And then he just in his face, he like learned how to say like pussy in Brazil, in Brazilian or Portuguese.
Yeah,
as he just called him like in his face like you pussy. And you could see. I think it was what shook him the most. Was when he took the belt, like when he ripped the belt.
Oh, you could see on his face.
Like, he's like in that stare down, he almost was like he's so angry, he's almost crying.
Yeah,
that was like his breaking point. They've been doing it for like weeks flying.
And he has to stand there
flying
with
all
Dana
over the
in
world.
the Irish soccer jersey
and,
right there.
and you can tell, and Dana, every like Irish guy that come up and talking shit, like Dana's laughing his ass off.
Yeah.
Like it was horrible. Like what they did to Aldo, and that was so mean. Like just let like platoon them all around the world.
They did go
just
to
to get
Brazil. They
roasted.
did one Brazil stop for
They
him.
did, but even then, like it was McGregor just being like, "Fuck all of you."
I remember there's a great clip of like McGregor being like, it's in the embedded when they go to Brazil, and he looks out the window of an Uber and he's like, "How do you say river? Rio?" And they're like, "Yeah." He's like, "I own that river." Some fights that were on my big board that I didn't pick. Andre,
just go over. I think some of the people were asking in the chat, like, "What's the board?"
honorable mentions. Yeah.
No, I'm saying like they came in late. Like they want to know like our final board.
All right. Yeah. Do you want to go through like the entire? I have all the picks here. I can go through them pick by pick or team by team. How should we do it?
I would say team by team probably is the easiest.
Yeah.
Like everyone just kind of like say theirs.
Yeah. Say your team.
So mine was the Robbie Lawler, Rory McDonald 2. Then I took Gaslam Adesanya, the interim title fight. Then I took, what did I take after that? Oh, I took
Usman
Covington Usman 1, the first one. Then I took Pat Barry. I took
Jersey Jerry.
Jerry. He acted like we had like
I mean,
he acted like we were
come
like,
in if you want.
Yeah.
I mean.
He acted like we had like the biggest interview of all time, and he walked in. Oh my god! It's like McGregor was in here. It's like no, it's just us three.
It's fine. Yeah, don't worry.
For some reason, I didn't write down my. All right, I got no. It was the McDonald Lawler 2, Gaslam Adesanya for the interim belt, Usman Covington 1. Then I took Gaethje versus Michael Johnson, and then Pat Barry versus Chet Congo. That was my 5.
Jack.
I did.
I have all the picks. Yeah.
I did McGregor Diaz 2. Zing Joanna 1. We've only seen one, but the second one's coming up. Then I did Gaethje Chandler from this past year. Swanson Choi from 2014 or 16. And then Figgy.
16 probably.
Yeah, 16. Then Figgy Moreno 1. So that's my team.
That's a good team. My team was Frankie Edgar versus Gray Maynard 2, Don Fry versus Takayama from Pride.
Rogan's gonna love that.
Who was my next pick? Oh, Forrest Griffin versus Stephan Bonner, Joe Lozon versus Jim Miller, and then
some great
Conor McGregor versus Chad Mendes.
Some great classics on there.
Classics.
When's your most recent fight?
McGregor Mendes, I
think. That's some great classics.
I went for throwbacks. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then on the big board that went unselected, I had Andre Arlovsky, Travis Brown, heavyweight slugfest. Kind of like the Czech Congo Pat Barry situation.
Poirier Hooker.
Yep.
Classic.
I had a couple. Ivan Poirier Gaethje. He was a crazy.
You know who I thought you were gonna pick because I thought you would pick Emmett Burgos.
I thought about it. It was on my board. So the one I was talking about that I took that I almost think would look better on the big board if I had taken it was Shogun versus Dan Henderson.
Yeah.
That was the one that I think
is on my board.
Hard MMA fans will be like upset. That was an unbelievable fight.
I think
Silva Sonnen. Also, that's a big one.
That one I considered it. I like. It's a great fight. I thought the only thing was that like he just had so much like ground control. Chael, that I just thought they were more like even like the way it ended was just so crazy.
Yeah,
that he like finally someone like dominated Silva like that, and then he just puts him in a triangle.
Truly,
I don't know.
Truly, just unbelievable.
Jones Gustafson.
Yep, I had that
first one, obviously classic.
Also, Whitaker Romero too.
Yep,
I thought Cormier Miocic too.
Yeah.
Was a very good one. That's really the one that Miocic ended Cormier with the body shots, which but Cormier the first 2 rounds was just dominating.
Cormier was up 3-0 in my opinion.
3-0, yeah. But
and it was
body
interesting
shots
to see like
round 3 were
he landed one and saw like it hurt him, and then he was like, "Oh shit!" Like I'm gonna keep doing that.
Him against the cage. I remember I was in Long Beach for that.
Yeah. I had Hughes versus Trigg too. Yep. Kind of like McGregor Mendes structure of a fight where like Hughes was getting dominated. He won the first fight via rear naked choke and then said like, who the fuck loses a fight via rear naked choke? Gets put in a rear naked choke that looks like it's going to finish him. He gets out of it and then fucking runs his opponent across the octagon, slams him. It was incredible. So
also
that's got to be on
Korean
there.
Zombie Yair Rodriguez.
Yep.
And the other one I wanted to say too was even I think a sneaky one that like Dominic Cruz and Cody Garbrandt
was
Yeah.
It was a great title fight.
Yeah,
Really
Dominic
good
Cruz
title
and
fight.
TJ Dillashaw was a great title fight.
Honestly, even though they were short, even the Garbrandt
Did anybody say
Dillashaw fights were great.
Whitaker Romero too?
I did,
Yep.
yeah.
Okay.
That was unbelievable.
Oh no, Romero Costa was a pretty good fight too.
Also,
I
great
had
fight.
Bigfoot versus Hunt. That was like an all-time classic. Another heavyweight slugfest. Lawler versus Condit. That was right after
Could
the
you
McDonald
say
2 fight.
Jones Reyes.
I wouldn't necessarily put it on there, but it was a good
great fight.
Yeah.
Honestly, one that
Jones
I think
Santos.
That I thought that was a better fight actually.
Okay.
It wasn't as close, but it was more exciting if that makes sense.
One I was gonna say was sneaky too. Well, I literally just slipped my mind. Oh, even though it ended so crazy, and you could argue it was like sort of one-sided, but I just thought he showed so much toughness and like fought was honestly the Yuri like Reyes fight was
Oh
crazy.
Yeah, that was
yeah.
crazy.
Like it definitely like
Crazy
looking
ending,
back
too,
on
it
it, like the
helps.
ending was nuts, and it was like Yuri was definitely winning.
It was
like,
one of the best fights of that year.
But like Reyes was like every time you thought he was hurt, he would land just a huge left, and
Yeah.
like
He really
every
was.
time he would be hurt, bang, like a hard left, and would just be off the cage. He was so tough. Like that was literally you had to like kill him to get him out there. You had to just like take him from consciousness.
I had 2 female fights other than Joanna and Zhang. I had that on my big board as well. I had Holm versus Tate at UFC 196. This was at that point, I thought this was like the best fight in women's MMA history.
Yep.
It was awesome.
Yep.
And even the ending of that one, Holm like refusing to tap and like just swinging until she goes out. And then a quick one, Nunez Cyborg was just fireworks for the short time it lasted.
Another short one as well that I'm glad someone said it in the chat because I had it on my big board as well. Maybe like one of the best 1-round fights ever was the Strike Force was Nick Diaz, Paul Daly. All timer.
Yeah.
Nick Diaz gets
Clay
hurt
Guida,
badly,
Diego Sanchez.
dropped. Yeah.
I think you could even if we did a bunch of rounds, I think you could even argue for Gaethje Oliveira the past fight that for 1-round bangers.
Yeah, for like that was a 3-minute just
3 minutes, just like insanity.
Even Chandler Oliveira.
Oh yeah.
That was a great fight.
And so another one someone put in the chat that you could under the same kind of thing was like the Derek Lewis Bam Bam.
Yep.
Like that was just fireworks for like a few minutes.
And that's all you need
absolute
sometimes.
fireworks.
Yeah.
Jorge Till was pretty good.
Yeah, he got dropped.
He got dropped, and then he came
People
back.
forget
Lands
that
a massive left.
Jorge
hand.
like debuted his running start in that.
Yes.
fight.
Yeah, yes.
Well, it was a running kick to the dick. He missed, but yeah.
And then Till knocked him down, like I think in like first minute or so.
He did.
Yeah.
Also, another one too. I mean, I honestly thought about even drafting this. This guy loved Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz McGregor won.
Yeah.
Oh
So
yeah.
obviously second
It's a
round, but
great
that was
fight.
fireworks for like 7.5, 8
And
minutes.
McGregor like lit him up in the first round.
That's
He
what I'm
really
saying. It was
did.
fire- and then they're just seeing like kind of that breaking point of like McGregor that Diaz was
The
just
gas tank, like
just different.
When McGregor shot on him, you're like, oh,
That's when you knew it was
Yeah.
fucking.
Oh, you're a wrestler
'cause you
now?
saw like Diaz,
Yeah.
Diaz started landing some big shots.
he really did.
He touched him a few times. And you saw Diaz was like, or McGregor, I mean, was just like, he could not take a few more of those.
I'm trying to think of any other female fights.
I do believe we are over our time.
Okay.
Jersey Jerry has the room. So I want to give the room over to Jersey Jerry so he doesn't break our kneecaps. And you never know with that guy. No, I'm kidding. He's a nice union guy. He would never.
No,
But thank you for tuning in. Hope everyone has a good Memorial Day weekend. Stay safe, all that jazz. We'll be back next week to break down more fights, preview fights, talk drafts maybe.
Volkov Rosenstrike main event next week.
take an Uber. Like, don't drink and drive.
Yeah,
please.
All right. Thanks for tuning in.
God
everybody.
bless.
See ya.